What is going on, everyone? Anthony Drew Gary here, host of The How To Show, where we talk about optimizing life, money, and happiness one how-to at a time. This past weekend, I got to have lunch with a good friend of mine who's living out of town now, but he was up for the weekend. So we had lunch. We got real fancy. We went to Jimmy John's and we got ourselves some sandwiches. And while we were sitting there and we were chowing down, I noticed that the decoration in the store had, next to our table, there was a picture that had the parable of the Mexican fisherman at it. And I recognized it and I asked him if he'd ever heard it. And he said, huh. And well, later on I asked my wife the same thing and she said, no, never heard of it. And so I thought to myself, this has to happen. We need to do a video about the Mexican fisherman and how it relates to life, how it relates to contentment, and how to really forge your own path. And so we're going to dive into the story. We're going to read it real quick. It's going to be a fun one. Flipping over to share my screen now. This is the story of the Mexican fisherman. An American investment banker was at the pier of a small coastal Mexican village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. Inside the small boat were several large yellowfin tuna. The American complimented the Mexican on the quality of his fish and asked how long it took to catch them. The Mexican replied, only a little while. The American then asked why he didn't stay out longer to catch more fish. The Mexican said he had enough to support his family's immediate needs. The American then asked, but what do you do with the rest of your time? The Mexican fisherman said, I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take siestas with my wife, Maria, and stroll into the village each evening where I sip wine, play guitar with my amigos. I have a full and busy life. The American scoffed. I have an MBA from Harvard and I can help you. Every person that ever went to Harvard will always tell you they went to Harvard, so this guy is no different. You should spend more time fishing, and with the proceeds, buy a bigger boat. With the proceeds from a bigger boat, you could buy several boats, and eventually you could have a fleet of fishing boats. Instead of selling your catch to a middleman, you could sell directly to the processor, eventually opening up your own cannery. You could control product, processing, and distribution, he said. Of course, you would need to leave the small coastal fishing village and move to Mexico City, then Los Angeles, and eventually New York City, where you'll run your expanding enterprise. The Mexican fisherman asked, how long will all this take? To which the American replied, 15 or 20 years or so. But what then? Asked the Mexican. The American laughed and said, that's the best part. When the time was right, you would announce an IPO, sell your company stock to the public, and become very rich. You would make millions. Millions? Then what? The American said, then you could retire, move to a coastal fishing village where you could sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take siestas with your wife, and stroll to a village in the evenings where you could sip wine and play guitar with your amigos. See, I wanted to share this video because this is all about perspective. And what you're doing with your life may not be the standard course for the rest of the world, and that is perfectly okay. And I just wanted to make a video that shares that sort of a concept that, what the Mexican fisherman's doing and what the Harvard MBA is telling him to do, get him to the same spot at the end. So wanted to share that. Hopefully it's useful to you. I'll switch back over now. That's going to bring this episode of the show to a close. If you've never heard that story before, leave me a comment down below letting me know that. This is one that people need to know just because it's fun. And share it with other people. Even if you don't do it through this video, you can Google the Mexican fisherman and share the text of it all the same. But hopefully it got through to you. Hopefully you take something away from it and this video was valuable to you, such that you hit the like button to let YouTube know that and let people know that this is the best podcast, video blog, all of the above in the world, and people need to continue to watch. If you've got any feedback or topics for future videos on the show, you can always leave those down below. As always, if you're looking to sell your house in the Indianapolis market, I'd love to help you do that. Just tied one up for a couple recently. Went really smoothly. Happy to do the same for you in that world. Again, if you like what you're seeing each and every Wednesday, hit the subscribe button. You'll be the first to know about new content as it rolls out. Until next time, this is Anthony Drew Gary, host of The How To Show, signing off.